Welcome to another Zen Rose Garden Pro Tip series. Coming up in this video, empathy definition, empathy meaning, and sympathy versus empathy definition. So what is an empath, and are you one? This is part of our empath playlist, How to Be a Better Empath.
Playlist link down below.
Boom diggy.
Hey
All
guys,
right, Dawn, good to see you. And Starseed, nano.
That's like the
Which
Vulcan,
is also nano.
Isn't that live long and prosper? And while that's going to be entertaining with some free juicy information, we do have an offer at the end to take your metaphysical business from basic to bodacious, but only if it works for you. So if you are just getting to know us, I'm Heather.
And I'm David.
From ZenRoseGarden.
And if you're new and you want real tips without unicorn poop, consider subscribing right over there. Spankity spank that bell right down there, and you'll be good to go.
I want to talk about our students. And a lot of our students from all over the world are frustrated with how limited their growth has been because many systems have lacked foundation and integration and just rename and repackage the same stuff.
Same stuff, different frosting, but nobody brought the cake.
So no matter how many papers they collected, tons of frosting, no cake.
Some had all the cool intuitive techniques without a foundation of self-growth to stabilize it.
And others have self-growth locked down without a clue of what to do with their quickly evolving intuitive skills.
And we bridge that gap. And if you stay to the end, we're going to show you how to sign up for our best resource and community. This is not just for entrepreneurs or professionals. If you just want to work on your stuff, Zen Ed Academy is the place to do it.
It's kind of a village.
It is a village, and it takes a village. Stick around for more on that.
Yes.
Zen Ed Academy, Zen Ed Academy, love Zen Ed Academy. OMG, no, it's for the everyone.
It's for the everyone.
Yes, it is for the everyone. Today
we start our series on empathy and how to use this gift in a really beautiful, balanced way.
Empathy is something that we are gifted with as humans to be able to relate to one another, right? But sometimes when we over-relate, anybody ever done that?
Yeah.
Our gift of empathy stops helping.
So empathy gives us the ability to have a deeper, richer experience of life. And this can be beautiful because we develop the capacity for deeper, more complex, richer feelings. And I want to call this the gift of empathy because
absolutely
so many people go empathy, and it gets them stressed out, but it's a gift, okay? So we decided to do this series for our #YouTube fam because so many sensitive people are distressed by emotional empathy,
including empathy exhaustion and empathy burnout.
And I want to stress that emotional empathy, not empathy itself,
but the sensory experience of it. But it does not have to be that way.
So empathy is one of our greatest gifts as humans. It makes us human, okay?
Absolutely.
It helps us understand each other. And when it is healthy, it is compassionate, not fearful in any way.
It allows us to see each other without fear, regardless of the darkness someone is feeling or going through outside of us.
So now that we have totally flipped the pancake over, we want to know, what do you do when you feel overstimulated? Because all of us have moments when we feel overstimulated.
Right.
What is a healthy suggestion that has helped you to become more compassionate to others when you feel overwhelmed?
Right. So give us if you've ever been overstimulated and a healthy suggestion that has helped you. Let us know in the comments. Let's first define some terms. Let's talk about sympathy versus empathy.
Okay, the terms sympathy and empathy are commonly kind of used interchangeably, but they really have two different meanings. They're really cousins, not synonyms. So they are related to each other, but we often confuse sympathy and empathy with one another.
They're cousins, not siblings.
Right.
So sympathy is a feeling of compassion, concern, or sorrow for another person's hardships.
Let me emphasize, for another person's hardships.
Right. Outside of you. Okay. I understand you. I feel compassion
for you,
or sorry for you.
So, but empathy is feeling things with another person. And I want to call this emotional empathy. I want you to start knowing the difference. Okay.
So empathy is feeling things with the other person. Empathy is putting yourself in the shoes of another person. And actors, I've never acted in my
Actors
life.
do this
Right.
by basically immersing themselves into the person's experience that they're trying to act out,
Right.
as if they themselves were the person, like Jim Carrey did when he played Andy Kaufman in
Total immersion in the character.
I mean, he was feeling like he was that person. It was
Right.
crazy,
Yeah.
right?
And it's a great thing to experience. And Tanya says, yes, empathy can suck depending on the emotion. And we're going to say not depending on the emotion, depending on how involved you are in the other person's emotion. It's
And
not the emotion itself.
It's you'll understand by the end of
Yes.
this live, because this is a whole series this week, but you'll understand the difference and I'll start to be able to sort it in your mind. It's going to be great. So for example, when someone loses a loved one, you feel sympathy for their family.
Right. You may share a feeling of sadness with them, but you might not have empathy for their situation. Maybe if you haven't experienced a death yourself or simply just cannot imagine it, there is no way for you to experience empathy with the person if you don't have a correlating data point inside of your own mind.
But you can have sympathy, right?
Yes.
So with empathy, you can also have empathy, which is not a bad thing. So
Right.
with empathy, you put yourself in someone's shoes to understand their feelings by identifying with them.
Right.
That's a really good human thing to do. That's not a bad thing.
Right, right. So, for example, somebody lacking empathy may really not be able to understand why another person is upset over a situation if they can't imagine being in that person's place.
Like your Xbox broke and you can't play games. Why are you sad? I don't get it.
You're right.
Okay.
However, to somebody who is absolutely addicted to an Xbox experience, that is the end of their world. But
So-
if you don't know that, you can't relate.
So if you have empathy, you
Right.
can put yourself in the same situation and perceive how the other person is feeling, even if those feelings have not ever been yours. But it is not that simple.
And we're going to make it easier for you to understand as we go through this. So here's the trick.
Yes.
The overwhelmed empath in the world of spiritual pop culture does have a keen sense of empathy, which is great.
It means they're not a sociopath or a psychopath. So
Good thing.
that's good right off the
Right?
bat.
But they feel more than understand what someone is going through.
Right. So with the overwhelmed empath, what they're feeling is emotional empathy. And we're going to break down 3 types of empathy
Right.
that are going on with you. Then
Right.
all 3 of these go together.
So here's why. In psychology, there are 3 basic types of empathy. There is cognitive, compassionate, and emotional.
Right.
The one that gets the most press in spiritual pop culture is, can anybody guess?
Emotional empathy.
And its offspring, somatic empathy.
And a somatic empathy is the ability to feel in the body what another person is feeling, which is
Yep.
a great skill for a body worker to develop.
But
It can be a problem for the high emotional empaths when
who
we're talking.
mainly is focusing on only a third of their total empathic gift.
So emotional empathy, which is the main one that all the empaths, the overwhelmed
Identify
empaths
with.
identify with in the world of spiritual pop culture, is only 1/3 of your empathy.
Right,
So, but that's the one that just that you get overwhelmed with.
right.
And it's the right one out of the gate. It's
Right.
absolutely the right one. It's what happens after it.
Right. But in order to bring empathy into a balance, you also have to cultivate the other 2 types, compassionate empathy and cognitive empathy.
Okay, but first we need emotional and
Yes.
somatic empathy. Not everybody experiences somatic empathy. That's sort of like the offspring of emotional empathy. So emotional empathy is
Mhm.
they help us feel the situation, right?
But they are also the most primal forms of empathy.
So emotional empathy is the one that kicks off first, and it's the first one we learn or
Mhm.
we feel. So
Right.
with emotional empathy, you quite literally feel the other person's emotions with them. You catch the emotions.
Right. And with somatic empathy, you literally feel it inside of your body as if it were your own.
So it is also called personal distress or emotional contagion in psychology. And in spiritual pop culture, this is the common understanding of the word empathy, but it's not the full scope of empathy.
It's not the full cookie.
Yeah.
So emotional empathy is the foundation, right? It is literally the first type of empathy that we feel as babies.
So when a mother smiles at her baby, the baby catches her emotion and smiles back, because that's, like I said, that's part of what makes us human. And if you haven't noticed, a baby will often cry when they hear another baby cry, like dogs in the neighborhood when they start barking. It's a very primal, like David. So it's basically a very primal reaction.
Medium Star says, love, love, love watching you guys. Beautiful souls you are. Thank you. Thank you very much. Somatic empathy. Feeling someone else's anxiety in my gut. No bueno.
And I'll tell you the next step after that. And Omar says,
is somatic empathy what mediums feel with spirits?
Yeah,
it can be.
It can be.
It can be, right. Holy crap, I can pick up on anxiety like a mofo. Yep.
And
I can't help it. Sometimes I cry, but I hug a lot. Don't matter. I just hug a lot. I ain't a gangster. I just hug a lot. When in the Commuter Express, I constantly have to remind myself if it's my feelings or someone else's. Yes. And that's a really good thing to do, is to distinguish between what is yours and what is not.
And that brings us into the next part of empathy that you need after emotional empathy. Because remember, emotional empathy hits you first from the time you are a baby. It's not like this magical thing. We all have it. That's how we're wired. That's how we are human. So without a balance,
I ain't an empath. I just feel a lot.
Without a balance, emotional and somatic empathy overwhelm the other two types of empathy.
Now, we do need these other two in balance, these other two types in balance, in order to experience a deeper sense of rich emotion and to really bond with other people in a very beautiful life experience.
So the other two types of empathy, if you're only operating with those two types of empathy, those are out of balance too. But more often than not, we get out of balance with emotional empathy 99% of the time. So let's talk about it a little bit. Empathy is supposed to bring us together. It's not supposed to make us run into hiding in fear of each other because we feel some kind of way. So
we're going to touch briefly on those other two types that we mentioned that we'll be expanding on later in this series.
Because we want you to be able to strengthen those other two types of empathy. And then you can be like, feel it. It's great. You're not reacting some kind of way. So type number one, as we said, is emotional and somatic empathy.
Which helps you to feel the situation.
Yes. And that's a good thing.
Type two, cognitive empathy. Cognitive empathy's job is to help you intellectually understand or empathize with someone from a healthy emotional distance. I feel you, but I don't have to feel you. You feel me?
So it is not a sensory empathy. So the first thing you feel is that emotional. If we get lost in the emotional empathy, that's when we spin out into our own story. We insert our story into the emotional empathic story. But the second thing you should skip to is cognitive empathy, which helps you. Oh, I totally get why they feel so dark. I totally understand it. There's no sensation in it.
From a distance.
It's a cognitive empathy. It's in that. Remember, we talked about last week, the anterior cingulate cortex.
Where you can CTFO.
Right. So that is where that cognitive empathy is taking place. You're understanding what the person is feeling without having to feel it.
Right. So the first one is that primal initial response. I feel you. I need to know whether you are a threat or whether you're a friend.
And then you just are like, the cognitive empathy kicks in and you're like, oh, I see that person's just feeling some kind of way. They're just in a dark spot.
Right.
It's not my story. But that helps you to bring on type number three,
which is compassionate empathy.
And that's when you the feels come back in, but really now it's your feeling coming in compassion.
Right.
So compassionate empathy's job is to help you take appropriate action for the situation. Where if you just stop with emotional empathy, you run away because it feels dark and scary and negative energy, and go to your house and you close the door.
Or you reach in to help them because you don't want to keep feeling this. So you go to the source and try to help them not feel it anymore so that you'll feel better.
And that's sort of compassionate empathy out of balance, though.
Yeah, all three of these work together in a beautiful balance. You do need all three.
Yes.
When you have only one leading the show, there is an imbalance, right?
Yes.
And more on these later in the series on fine-tuning the human gift of empathy.
Right. So we wanted to like start this series off with giving you by giving you the three types of empathy, and then the little somatic, which is actually part of the emotional. Not everybody experiences somatic empathy, but it comes out of emotional empathy. But we tend to, the empathy we're talking about in pop spiritual culture is really just emotional empathy. We need the other two, but if we're not aware that they're there and we have access to them, we just kind of get stuck in the emotions.
And we don't know that there's a way out or a way to balance. Okay, so on Thursday, we're going to be giving you even more real tips on how to balance your gift of empathy for a richer, more engaged life journey.
So do be sure to join us for our Thursday Live at 3 p.m. Pacific for that big video on the brain science of empathy, because we are going to talk about the actual parts of brain that react when it comes to these three types of empathy. And it's going to really help you balance that empathy and turn it into the gift that it is, because empathy is a gift.
Brain science of empathy. I was waiting so hard for that one.
Medium Star, my daughter's an empath too. We definitely attract lots of people when we feel togetherness, want to help. So yeah, I think when we know these have the balance, it becomes the gift that it should be, because I hate to see people
out of balance and overextended.
Right. And afraid of their gift, because sometimes they all three.
So Tanya says, I always cry at commercials. Absolutely. When they hit you in the feels. And when you okay, here's the thing. When I was younger, I used to be very much out of balance when it came to this empathy. I would literally walk in people's shoes as a practice when I would go to school. So I would literally imagine myself and step into them and become this person and literally feel in my body how they were feeling. And over time, what I learned to do was find this balance. Okay, so the balance that I'm talking about, you may cry at movies or commercials or whatever, but it's not going to be all the time. You're not going to be overextended. You're going to have a balance. You're going to know, especially with that compassionate empathy, how to respond appropriately to the situation without getting all up in the feels, without a reason or a purpose. I can be in tears from watching commercials.
Oh, me too. Absolutely. Me too, Helene. And feeling is good, right? Yes. Because we're experiencing emotion, and I think to experience emotion is human. It's when we get bogged down by it that we're not engaging in life.
And then Natalia says, your beautiful interaction with each other always makes me smile. Awesome. And Tanya, yes, you definitely need some empathic balance. That's why you need this entire series. So remember that when we are not here, we are with our Zen heads in Zen Ed Academy. So you miss us, you know where we are.
Or we're at the movies.
Or at the movies.
But we will be back to chop it up with our hashtag YouTube found faster than 2 shakes of a what? A unicorn's tail after he's pooped rainbow frosting on your carpet.
Tired of rainbow frosting and unicorn poop? Join Zen Ed Academy. Come to the village.
Come to the village. Except it's not like the village in like M. Night Shyamalan's village, where it's not like that kind of village.
Raylene says, "Join our tribe. It's awesome. Join our tribe. Come to the village." I love the village, the Zen Ed village, and not just the movie.
I love the movie too.
Village. And I've been extremely private my whole life, but now I know I need to get myself going with this work.
I used to be so extremely private too, until I really understood
how to bring it into
balance. And now for me, I love to go and engage with people. I love to go see people, meet people. I've always been fascinated by people from afar, but not, again, I can talk about this because I've been through it.
Right.
But once I understood how to balance it, step back, move back in,
how to take it appropriate action.
Right. And now I just absolutely love going out, talking to people, engaging with people, seeing what they're about, that kind of thing.
And Medium Star says, you guys seem to enjoy it and do it well.
It takes practice to get there.
It does take practice. Well, it takes first off knowing that there is a there to get to.
Right.
If you don't know that there's a way out of the overwhelm and the inundation, then you're going to feel trapped in it. Well, we know the way out because we've walked through it.
My first go round at college, I was considering going in as a psychology major early on, and I decided not to because I just felt like I didn't want to be, with all those people's emotions all day long, and like, my family was intense enough. But then after my divorce and I decided to go back to school, I was like, I have to, if I'm going to go into this work, I need to get that. I need to figure it out. And so I did. And now it is so joyful to like be with people in their stuff and in their darkness and be able to help them walk through it. And it doesn't stay with me. It doesn't stick with me because I've learned how to balance that empathy in a very useful way. Yeah. And you guys can do it too. And I know that a lot of you want to be counselors and coaches and life coaches and spiritual helpers.
Or just get out of your own emotional overwhelm.
And just get out and enjoy life. And that's whatever it is you get from us.
Right. Whether you want to be a professional or whether you just want to get out of the pain of over-connecting to other people or feeling overwhelmed from the emotions or from the world events or whatever it is, there is a way out.
Life's too short to not get out there and enjoy happy hour, right? And like talk to that weird guy at the bar or
without feeling like everything's going to stick to you.
Like, wow, what's that person's story?
He says, yes, please.
So let's do this.
And then Helene says, thank goodness you guys are Obi-Wan Kenobi. We are both of the Kenobis, Obi-Wan and Kenobi. Yes. And Medium Star says, some like it, some don't want to know anything about it, say that it's bad. It's not bad. This is how your mind works. This is how the human experience operates. Yeah. It's just knowing how to operate it. Okay. Right. Knowing how to operate your brain, knowing how to operate your heart, your emotions, knowing that it's all working together and that it's not a negative thing. It's not a curse.
Well, it's like anything. When you know how to run it, you can run it instead of it running you.
Yes.
So it's kind of like,
so run it.
We don't have this owner's manual for how our brain works. So sometimes the brain can run us. And when we and then we get an owner's manual for the brain, we go, oh, I see how it works. And now I'm in charge of it because you should be in charge of your own brain and your own life and enjoy it.
And Tanya says, absolutely, for general life and in my metaphysical practice. Yeah, Zen Ed Academy all the way. Sonia says, it won't be much longer before I can join the tribe at the Academy, guys. I'm so excited. Couldn't do it before. If you like this video, smack that like button right down there.
I guess we're doing this.
Smacking it.
And if you have questions about Zen Ed Academy, do not hesitate.
For more live hangouts, behind the scenes secrets, and mind hacking pro tips,
be sure to subscribe
and spank that bell right down there to turn notifications on.
So you will never have to remember
when we drop a new video
or go live.
And we need a spanking emoji for David. Yes, please. If somebody's got a spanking emoji, find a spanking emoji, bring it next time. And we know that time is a valuable and precious resource. And the fact that you guys are choosing to spend that with us and all of our craziness, but most importantly, for yourselves, leveling up your life, getting out of the overwhelm, taking your life and your business to a whole new level. We honor and appreciate that even more. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video over here or over here.
I'm always afraid that finger's going.
It's not going anywhere.
You guys, we love you. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world.
Absolutely. We'll see you in the next video.
Bye.